All right, so after going back and forth a lot, I decided to cut out the quarter panel. I had an old repair here that I did when I was a lot more, I guess I could say, immature with metal work. I'm still not anywhere near great, but I know a little bit more than what I did here, and it was warped and pretty nasty. The bottom edge of this quarter panel was just wrinkled up. I've got it over on the table. But what I've done so far, I cut it all out and shrink and stretch this panel here into shape, into submission. It's got an arch and then a gentle curve underneath the edge of the car there. Next piece is going to be this panel here, and it's got a pretty good little curve to it too. I may have to throw that in the English wheel and try to get that gentle curve in it. But this piece here was seemed to be a little more difficult, and I went ahead and cut. And I cut here to begin with, and I said, well, I got to do a little more. So when I pull this out and weld it as I go, I'm going to shape it as I go and follow down the quarter and get that roundness back in it. But it feels pretty good. It was actually bowed in quite a bit. If I held a straight edge along this line here and up here, it was bowed in 1/4 of an inch easily. But once I cut this away, I realized this has sucked in too much. I cut it away and it bounced out almost where it needs to be, which surprised me a lot. So that was a big relief because I was kind of scared to cut this off again. I didn't want to open a big can of worms, but so far, taking my time and thinking about it, it's turning out pretty good. So we'll get this all cleaned up and get my new piece. I'm gonna make a pattern, and we'll go from there. This is the old quarter panel here, and you can see in the light it's pretty wadded up. It was actually in an accident when I got the car. The quarter panel had been hit and stoved in a little bit, but I thought I had straightened it out, but I didn't want to put that much filler on this quarter panel. So this is the rough pattern of what I'm going to make. I'm going to cut it a little bigger, and I'll fit it and cut it and keep going. All right, we're back on this quarter panel action. Like I said, this is the wadded up piece that's just nasty. Good old repair that I did. I didn't know what I was doing. Got this panel here made just from flat sheet. Worked it in the shrinker stretcher, shrank and stretched and hammered and banged. Got it fitting pretty nicely there. And this guy here, so I put it through this panel here. I put it through the English wheel and got a little curve to it. It's got some little dings in it, but skim coat of filler, which is expected for this kind of repair, will be just fine and cover all that up. It won't be a lot of filler at all. These two guys here, I'm going to weld this guy first to the quarter, and that'll help me pull it out and in and out to match the curvature of the car. Come over here and weld this edge up, and that way it'll allow me to pull this quarter panel and help line it up here where that big gap is. And then I'll come along and just fit the other panel and tack it in place. And I can get to the back side of this weld and hammer it and get it really, really close. The whole idea of this was to try to get rid of this wadded up quarter and not use as much body filler. But this patch panel just lays right in there like it's supposed to. I'm pretty happy with that. And it's got a taper here. It tapers back towards the bottom of the car. It's got a lot of shape to it. Just been working on it back and forth, bringing it back, testing it, bringing it back, testing it, checking the other side with a template gauge, and it's been a lot of back and forth, but it's paying off right now, as you can tell, or as I can tell. It's fitting really nice. So I'll come back, I'll get some tacks in it, and we'll go from there. All right, I got this guy patched in, or tacked in, rather. Bunch of small little tacks, kind of keep the heat at bay. You don't want to warp all this again. That's kind of what I did before. There's still a gap here, but as I weld this in, I'm gonna be able to pull these guys together, and I've got to put a straight edge on here, and I think that'll make a big difference, helping line it up, because it sank in here and had a pretty good dip. So I'm going to weld the bottom patch in, and that'll help kind of bow this back out, which is what it was lacking, and put a straight edge on here as I weld this, and I'll work it down and kind of curved to it. It's kind of tricky. It seems to be whooping me a little bit, but just keep at it, and we'll get it. I think I'm headed in the right direction. It looks a lot better here so far, so I can only hope that the path I'm going down will continue to keep that curve in it, get that body line back in there, and keep some of that mud out of the car. I'm just going to have some in it, skim coat. You can't help that. I want to get a nice, perfect finish on it as best as I can, and yeah, we'll go from there. We'll keep at it and keep working it. So I put my patch back in place. It's in place. I've got it held in there just to kind of film it, but trimming little by little. You don't want to trim too much. It's a lot harder to add than it is to pull cut away material. So I traced a little line there, and that's how much, you're talking less than 1/8 of an inch, not quite a 1/16. Maybe it is, I don't know. Just eyeballing it. I'm going to trim just to the side of that black line, and keep refitting it, and just keep shaving little by little until it's a perfect gap, and we'll tack it in. So we'll get to that. All right, well, I got the still working on the quarter panel here. I got it tacked into place. The lower panel tacked in, lower edge of the quarter tacked in after putting a straight edge on it from the front portion of the quarter to the rear, matching it to the other side. I realized this was too far in, so it dove in a lot. So I've cut it away at the bottom. Now I got a gap that I've got to make. So I cut it away at the bottom, and now I've got a gap I need to fill, big enough to put my hand in. So it's a good 1.5 inches or so. But that's okay. It's right. It matches the other side a lot better. Also, when I got here to this part here, after moving and bending and twisting and banging on it with a hammer a lot, the gap got really thin, and the metal was really, really thin and fatigued. So I went ahead and decided to cut that little piece out, and made a patch panel I'm going to weld into place. Got the shape in there pretty good, and I'm going to put that in there today, and got my angle iron up here to keep the straight edge and keep all this nice and tight, keep the line going smooth all the way down the side of the car there. Took the rear end out to get it out of the way so I can get up in here and weld the inner fender, or the inner wheelhouse to the quarter panel, because all that's been cut away when I tubbed the car out. But it's coming along. You got to just keep at it little by little, and it's really looking good though. The patch looks really good. The wheel arch matches the other side really good, and I'm liking it. It beats having to put a whole quarter panel on the car, which you have to get off another car, so they don't make parts like that for this car. So, okay, we'll keep at it. All right, I got the patch panel put in. I've ground down the welds around the patch panel just to show what the rest of this ugliness will look like once I finish it. I still got a little bit of a bulge right here. I may try to tamp that down a little bit and work it in. It seems to have grown a little bit as I welded it. Maybe got a little too much heat in it, but it's not terrible. It can be repaired. Yeah, it's a little unorthodox the way we cut the quarter and patched it in, but I had to use what I had, to work with what I had as far as that goes, because the quarter panel, when I did this, I didn't want to get all up into this repair here and start messing around with the roof section and all that. This was the best way to go, and I can't remember where I got this quarter panel off of. Well, obviously I got off the same car, but had to do it with hand tools in the woods, because where the car was resting. It made it kind of a pain in the butt, so I think this was the best way I did it back then. Like I said, it's been a while since this repair was made, so I can't remember all the details, but I'm really liking the way it's turning out. I've got a few more welds to make and some more grinding to go, but I think it's going to look really, really nice. A little bit of a drop here. That bend was it's not straight. Obviously, this whole wheel arch has got a gradual curve to it, so I messed that up a little bit, but still haven't finished that a little. I can hammer that and shape that a little better. It's going to need some filler. There's no doubt about it, but I'm trying to do as little as possible and just make it nice. So we'll keep grinding and show the finished product here shortly. So I got the quarter panel sanded off, smoothed off really nicely. Still got a few little bad spots in it, but can't get to it because of the wheel tub. There's a little low spot here and a little bit here, but the wheel tub, where I tubbed it, made the tub larger. It gets in the way of putting a dolly back there. So little filler, it's not a big deal. I'm going to correct this. I'm just going to slice that a little bit and hammer that up. It'll be perfect. Come back through here obviously and weld that up, but my main focus right now, I want to make sure I get this shape correct. I've got a pretty good gap right here. When I put this quarter panel on back in the past, obviously I put it on in the wrong spot, and I've got some ugly welds in here. I need to take care of those as well. Where I tubbed it and added some material in there, but I'm going to cut a strip the length of this rear rocker, and we'll get a little shape to it and see how it goes. I got the other quarter panel as a reference, so it'll be easier to make a template and get it close to matching. So got to go to about right here as it starts to suck back into the original lower quarter part there, and we'll fill this in and get it nice and shaped up. Be right back. I'm really happy with the way that turned out. Took a lot of work. I've been working on it for 3 days, taking my time doing it. All right, so I moved on to the trunk hinge here. When I tubbed the wheel well, or widened the wheel tub rather, obviously you have to move this bracket because it would have been down here on the side of the tub, being, you know, however many inches that was, I can't remember. But I don't like the way I made this bracket. But it's there and it's functional, it's it's welded pretty solid. So my only option is to make it look better with a little cosmetic cover. I don't necessarily like doing this, but it beats cutting all that out and taking the deck lid off and all that other junk. So I bent this up. It's a little bit of a challenge because it has a curve on the flange. I can get a decent picture of it, but that's just to match the wheel tub there. Obviously it's round because it covers a wheel or a tire, but that fits up there pretty good. I'll run a couple tacks on it here and there. I got to make the passenger side and working on that now. Just got to do some grinding on that one and clean it up, but it fits pretty good. I was pretty happy with that. So we're gonna make another one, and now for the passenger side, and to show you how I'm bending it, that flange with the arch in it. Having a shrinker stretcher is going to help you a lot, but we'll go through it and I'll show you. So I clamped a big old piece of pipe I had here to the table, and I'm bending it on the radius of the pipe. I'll bend it a little bit here, move it, bend it, move it, bend it, and that will slowly give me that arc that I want to bend that flange. Now what that will also do is warp this, and I'll warp that a little bit just from hitting it, plus the metal has to go somewhere. It wants to stretch a little bit there along that. It wants to stretch here and it'll shrink that a little bit, I believe. But yeah, we'll go back and forth and fight it a little bit. It wasn't too bad, just tedious. So we'll go back through there and do that. So you can see just by hammering up that flange, because it's an arc, it wants to fight, and the metal, like I said, has to go somewhere. So this gets wavy. This gets wavy, and you just gotta keep fighting back and forth and smash it. Got an anvil I'm hitting on, using just various different shapes around the shop, just whatever works. You know, that works. Hammering into that, not smacking the crap out of it, but just hammering it and slowly getting that arch to come into play there, and just have to go back and forth, fight. Got a flat spot here on the anvil. You can use it in the jaws here. You can clamp it. You know, there's all kind of different ways to do it. Whatever shape fits. You know, I got a dolly here that will work. That's actually not a bad looking shape as well. You can clamp that in your vise and use all kind of shapes. I've used everything. So let me hammer on this a little more, and we'll get it straightened out, and we'll probably put it in the shrinker and stretcher and get it manipulated a little bit too. So, all right, so I'm on the stretching side of the dies here. I've got two, so shrink and stretch. Beats having to change these dang dies out because they'll whoop you. But anyway, see it's got a little wave to it. I'm gonna put it in here and clamp it. It doesn't take much because this is pretty light gauge metal. Like, it's not structural, but it's just a cover. But you can actually watch that metal move if I can hold the camera still enough to, but it will. See, that moved a lot. Probably way more than I needed. But it'll straighten it out pretty easily for you. You can get it as deep as you can and then come all the way back to that edge, and it'll flatten out pretty decent. I think I'll stretch this curved portion a little bit if I can without destroying it. I think my handle on my the foot handle on my stretcher part here, or shrinker part rather, is broke. Needs a little repair, so I think I'm doing that incorrectly. I need to stretch that. Just wanting to pull. And you can go back and forth, shrinking, stretching, shrinking, stretching. Problem I've run into before, though, you fatigue the metal to the point where it just rips it. So you have to be careful there. You're going to work the metal back and forth so much. But it's not a bad looking curve, actually. I'm going to hammer on that a little bit and get that flange flattened back out. So I got the shape I want. Fits pretty decent. Got it the way I want it. I got the shape pretty good, and I'm going to go ahead and toss it in the sandblaster here and get all that paint. And there's a little bit of rust on that part, and we'll get it all nice and cleaned up. And you can see it does a pretty fine job. So I'll get my other hand in there and get it finished up, and I'll show you what it looks like out on the outside. All right, there you go. Both of them are in. They fit pretty good. Once I just clamp it in place and weld it, it'll look pretty good. All right, just moving along the back side of the car. I'm gonna try to refit this bumper. It's all cut up and custom from 2 or 3 different parts of a bumper. Some Falcon, some Corvair in the middle. But while I was at it, I went ahead and made my bracket for my hot and ground for my battery. And what I'll do is I'm going to use these ports to use them with jumper cables. So it's nice and clean. It's on the exterior of the car, so if the battery dies, you know, you can access the electronics and hopefully get the car, the trunk at least, or the door unlocked and open. To get access to the car and fix it back up. I don't know why I'm rambling. But bracket I made, it's pretty basic. It's pretty tight up in here too. Just a little stud cover there, and I'm gonna have the wires go up and into the floor right there. The battery should be right above this muffler, tucked into the side of the trunk area there and covered up. So I'm really liking that, and looking looks nice and clean. Got a lot of grime and grit cut off of these, or ground off of these wheel tubs, and made a huge mess, and I'm covered from head to toe, dirty, filthy. I noticed there's a little gap there, but there's a trunk floor, or the hump over the axle. The floor is not in there yet, just so I can get access and you know, work on brackets and the hard lines and the exhaust and stuff like that. I still got to make brackets for coilovers. I have not decided on coilovers yet. That's probably the next thing I need to buy to get this car down on the ground and see where the suspension sits and see how low it is. Hopefully it'll be really low and look pretty cool. So we'll see. We'll keep at it.